Hello again. So, demons is an ancient word. And there's a story of Milarepa, who was a student who went to practice in solitary mountainous caves. He was doing solitary practice. He studied the Dharma and he wrote the Dharma in poetry and songs. And one day he was out gathering shrubs for a fire, and the high winds came up and blew the shrubs all over. And he went back to his cave, and his cave was filled with demons. These demons were terrifying. They were sitting all over the cave, on his bed. They were sitting at the table. And he tried a few different things. He said, "Leave." And they all carried on, eating his food, having their feet on his furniture. So then he tried to offer them a Dharma sermon. But they didn't go anywhere. And finally he turned to them and he said, "You are all welcome here." And just like that, most of them left, except for one who was big and scary and terrifying, who had big, sharp teeth and scary eyes and was salivating everywhere. This demon represented unbefriended aspects of himself. It was simply terrifying. And so what did Milarepa do? But he put his head into the demon's mouth and he said, "Will you be my teacher?" He really gave himself over to these unbefriended aspects because he knew that they could teach him something. What can your unbefriended aspects teach you? What are your demons? Your unwanted aspects of yourself? As we practice, there's the structure of the practice, there's the posture, which we spent some time talking about, and there's the practice itself. We work hard not to be too tight, not to be too loose with our practice, to be consistent. And outside of our specific instructions of training the breath and working on our awareness in the moment, whether our object of meditation is our breath or another sense perception like our smell or sound. Outside of our specific instructions for practice, you start to notice these aspects. They rear up their little heads. And what will they teach you? The specific instructions are to go towards and to be curious about these parts. We begin to develop a clear seeing, precision of awareness, and also our curiosity. a kind willingness. Cornfield describes many different types of hindrances: desire, grasping, doubt, aversion. And with each, he gives specific instructions. But in general, the task is to come more deeply into contact with the aversion itself, to begin to really study it and to understand the details of it, how it arises. The invitation is to become more curious. To not struggle with the resistance, but to actually invite in the observer, the witness, your awareness, to open towards it with kindness and acceptance. When I was practicing at Naropa as a student, we would go on meditation retreats regularly. And during my time on retreat, one of my main hindrances was my desire. I was young, I had a fanciful imagination. I was often thinking about exploits, trouble I could get into, or just fantasizing about different members of my class. It was a very repetitive fantasy. In the beginning, I would try to just stop doing it and come back to my breath. But as I came more in contact with this demon, with this desire, with these fantasies, I realized that they were subtle ways of me not wanting to be present with myself, not wanting to be in the moment I was in, wanting to escape off into an idea of what could happen, potential, something that felt exciting and shook up the sometimes what felt monotone aspects of my own experience, the more bland colors. And as I studied them more closely over time, it wasn't instantaneous for me. It took some time. They started to fall away. And I was able to access very interesting and nuanced and profound aspects of my experience that I had never really come into contact with before. Those innermost parts of practice can be difficult to describe in words. Meditation practice is often defined as outer, inner, and innermost. The outer really has to do with the structure of practice, the basic instruction, the posture. The inner, it's your own inner experience. What you're actually doing on the cushion, what you're experiencing on a body level, somatic level, mind level. There's much that is written about this as well. The innermost can be what's hard to put into words or into language. So let's spend some time here just beginning to check in. What is your hindrance? What is your own flavor, your own demon? What is relevant to your experience? Take a little time and study what comes up. And begin to get curious. How does it arise? Where does it show up specifically in your body? How do you notice it? Beginning to observe and get curious about it. What are specific aspects of it that you notice? Beginning to really study and know on some level, what does it provide for you? And what is the practice of recognizing it and becoming curious? What does that invite in? What does that give you access to? I enjoy hearing about how your practice goes this week. Thank you, everyone. Look forward to reading your discussion posts, hearing more about your hindrances. For now, let's end here with a bow. Taking some time to acknowledge yourself, the work that you're doing, and also to the work that your colleagues are doing all across the country. Thank you, everyone.